Morenike is a married young lady whose husband beat at the slightest provocation. This has been an issue since the inception of their marriage, and it doesn't seem like it will stop anytime soon. She is aware that Timi has temper issues, as she has seen evidence of it in his reaction to others while they were dating. But she thinks nothing much of it. After marriage, it seemed Timi suddenly identified her as the enemy and vent all his anger on her at every slight opportunity available, for both issues relating to her and those that are not. The most challenging part of it is that it often extends beyond mere anger to fisticuffs. Morenike got her mother-in-law involved, hoping to get a solution thereby. Instead, she was told to bear it because it was a generational flaw.
What happened?
Mama, it's Timi again. Mama, I'm tired. This is just Wednesday and this bruises has happened just twice. Today is just Wednesday. Mama, I'm tired. I was not born to be a complainer, but as it is now, I'm tired. I don't just know what to do.
I'm not surprised. It's not strange. It's like father like son.
I don't understand.
In fact, her mother-in-law told her that Timi's father still beats her up after so many years in marriage, if he gets the opportunity. Yet, she loves him. She emphasized that Timi's grandfather was equally vicious to his 3 wives while he was alive.
I'm a father-in-law's wife, but he does it. He still beats me. And it runs in the family because that was what my mother-in-law complained about. Her husband, my father-in-law, used to beat her.
She told Morenike that she will definitely survive and get over it, just as she did, as long as she keeps an understanding heart.
I'll just lose my mind. I can't take it anymore.
It is a cross you have to bear. God has given us women the strength to bear whatever comes out.
Mommy, I said I'm tired. I don't just know what to do again.
To Morenike's parents, divorce is not an option. As much as they are against battery, they believe Morenike's husband has right over her now, rather than them, the parents.
I'm losing my mind, yeah. I'm tired.
Over my dead body. I and your father enjoyed a lasting marriage. Yours will not be less.
You won't understand because Daddy didn't ever betray anything. That's why you're sounding this way.
That is because I was always prayerful. It's not because his upbringing is different.
I'm tired. Maybe you have to intensify your prayers and pray for me.
Working hard to your marriage is not my business. I will pray for you, but you have to stick to it.
Morenike feels disappointed and so displeased with their stance on the issue. Morenike has threatened her husband with police action when next he dare lay his hands on her. Suddenly, the atmosphere in her home has changed for the worst, and her relationships with family members at all fronts in precarious danger.
Hello there. Domestic abuse is one that is rarely discussed in the Christian community, but the rate at which it is increasing is quite alarming. Today we're going to be talking about off generations, and I won't be doing this alone. Welcome to today's episode of Decisions. My name is Richard Biogene. Joining me is Deaconess Alakba of Church God Mission Praise Center. Welcome, ma.
Thank you.
Good to have you around. Compliment of the season.
Same to you.
And also the very Reverend Christian Ahmed of the Senior Pastor of Church God Mission Church Reloaded. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
It's good to see you.
Glad to be
Looking
here
good.
today. Thank you.
Okay, while I was doing a research, CBN News, I found out that they did a research on this too, and they interviewed Dr. Benjamin Keys, is of the Regent University Center for Trauma Studies, and he said, what he said was quite unfortunate. He said that in Christian marriages, we have a much greater frequency of domestic violence than we do in non-Christian homes. Even when I had to say that, another research rather, when I had to say that people that are likely to be violent in their home, like to beat up their spouses, are people that go to church periodically. So the rate is quite alarming, and I would like to know, why is it that, first of all, why is it that it seems as though Christians are more prone to domestic violence? Sir?
Alright, if you actually want to follow recent researches about that, it's to a point true, but not 100% true, because of the fact that a lot of people who are actually Christians, they are certain mindsets they have had that it's not really bothered on what it takes to run a relationship properly. Yeah, and they just centered on that mindset of the God, spiritual thing, and so they even lack good interpersonal relationship with other persons. And I believe that's basically one of the reasons why you find out that even in Christianity, in Christendom, because of lack of proper education as regarding what it takes to have a good interpersonal relationship with a friend or your spouse, that's why sometimes you find some of those abuses in Christian homes.
Okay, so education on interpersonal relationship is something that should be done. Okay, Ma, what else do you think can be done to help curb this?
Well, another aspect we can look into is that people like taking advantage of the fact that Christianity is all going. Anything can be allowed, so long as the person is wants to learn the virtues of God. He wants to be patient. You now work on the person's patience and all that. It ought not to be, and so we should have the mindset that Christianity it's not a cover up for misdeeds. Because I'll be patient, I want to look at the God's aspect of it, then somebody else should be able to take advantage of that fact. People work on it a lot. Christians are, it's all going. They don't mind, they can take anything, and so I can take advantage of whatever and get away with it.
After all, it's supposed to be patient, long suffering
and all that. And they begin to work on it.
Okay,
it ought not to be.
Okay. Apparently, from the case we have at hand right now, the lady was aware, or at least she saw some signs, some traits when they were dating, on the fact that he had a temper issue. So the question I want to ask is for people that are dating and they realize that there's a major issue, might not be temper, it could be something else, a major issue that would lead to other large issues when they are married. What would you advise that they do when they are dating, Christian?
Alright, in the course of dating, I believe what should happen is, first of all, dating is an opportunity that one has to be able to know your partner, and a lot of things to look out for, but it's very alarming and kind of scary today that when people get into dating, the first thing they think about is sex, and then when you get into sex, when you start having sex with your partner, you have emotional ties, you are blinded to the very truths that obviously you should see about the person that you are dating, because already there are already emotional ties and bonds, and so even if they tell you that this person doesn't have a good character, this person has a tendency to be abusive, you don't even see those things anymore. So I believe the first thing to check is the ability to have very the word is sane and sanctified relationships, so that you will not be blinded in the course of dating. You will not be carried away. Ensure that you are getting into that relationship to get to know your partner, to get to have an idea of who you are relating with.
But what happens when you're in a place you already know and you're seeing some things that are scary? For example, you're saying that there are temper issues.
Okay, beautiful. If you are in a place where you already know what actually this person can do, then at that point in time, it calls for you sitting down with the person and discussing these things with the person. You know, considering the fact that one will advise that it's not just, okay, you've been into a relationship with somebody and you know that he has this kind of tendencies and everything. Some people will just tell you, jump out of the relationship if there's no solution. But we have had cases whereby people who are doing these things, you know, get to know about it and they change because they were spoken with, they went through counseling sessions, and they went through proper orientation about what it should be like when you are into a relationship with somebody. You shouldn't be abusive and the rest of them. We had such cases, you know, that people came out victoriously. But on the other hand, when you find out that these red flags are there, and it's like as if you've done communication, you've talked to the person about it, like, you know, in this case we had, you know, so the mother saying that it's something that is in the family thing, and all that the person is telling you that this thing is in the family, you should know that that is not the norm. And another thing I think that also makes people accept these things is esteem. You feel like, because you don't have the right esteem, you feel that this people syndrome, you're attached to this person, you don't want to break out from this person, you might not meet someone else, and that those fear are the reasons why they want to continue. But my own take on it is, once you find out these red flags and you have been able to talk with the person, get, you know, ministers involved, even families to counsel, talk about it, and it doesn't seem like as if the person is changing or, you know, stepping out of it, then you should back out.
So leaving is not the first option?
No, it's not the first option.
The last
is the option. very last
very,
option.
very last option. Okay, over to Deacon Salapa. Okay. What's the place of older women? We know how scriptures was saying that older women should teach the younger ones. What should be taught? What's the place of trying to help them and then shield them in their marriages and allowing some things like case of the mother-in-law that was all about stay in your marriage, you have to be there. What duty do older women owe to younger women?
Okay. The older women, they have a lot of role to play in the lives of the younger ones. You know, being the fact that they've been through life and they've seen, you know, how marriages, you know, how they take place. The older women should be in the place of, you know, trying to make amends as much as possible. Give the best advice that you know will make the marriage stick together as one. And at the same time, you don't have to hurt. You know, you don't go to extremes. Like the case we saw now, wherein you know, she reported even to her mother, and her mother is saying no, and you just have to be there. It's totally wrong. Yeah. It's totally wrong because you are not looking at the person in danger. This girl is traumatized. What if you leave her and at the end of the day she goes into trauma, she goes into something else? You'll be in for it. So we should be able to give the right counsel, taking look at the person's life involved. If it's going to ruin the person's life, you should be able to give the right counsel. Call the people involved and, you know, place the cards on the table. That look, you're putting this girl in danger. Don't spiritualize it and say, oh no, you know, you have to manage it. Like the mother-in-law, for instance, says this is a generational thing. But I think in Christendom, generational things that are not of God, that are not in line with the scriptures, that are hurting, can be dealt with. They can't be broken, for Christ's sake. If you have a generational, for instance, let's say this has to do with issue of marriage. What if you have a generational case where somebody is an arm robber, the son is will you continue and say, when it's a generational thing you have to bear? No, there are some things you have to break off from. So the onus is on the older woman to say, this thing happened in my marriage. I wouldn't want it to continue. You call your son to order. You try as much as possible. So salvage the situation. You wouldn't want the suffering you're going through, you know, for it to continue. It ought not to be there. There has to be a break. If it's a good thing, then it can continue. But if it's wrong, then there should be a break, for heaven's sake. So as older women, when we see things that are wrong, we should deal with it objectively. If I suffer it, doesn't mean somebody else should suffer it at all. Rather, we want to stand to say, I stand against this, I suffer this. No child should suffer this. in my place.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. You did justice to that. So we'll just have to move on since she handled that well. Still on the issue of parents, how should parents, what's the thin line between parents being intrusive and they trying to salvage, their children in a marriage?
All right. It's a two-way thing because we have a situation on ground now that we're handling. At every point in time, parents obviously, are not meant to be intrusive in marriage. Okay, but that does not mean they should not be in touch with their children to find out how marriages are faring. That is also key, and that's why maintaining that. In the course of that, they could now see things that they could be able to help out with if in terms of counsel. Okay, so because some people just allow their children to go for marriage and they don't bother to care anymore. They say they are grown ups, they can take care of themselves. That's wrong from the parents' perspective. You should be able to check on your children, know how they are faring, and in the course of that, you will know what they are going through. Ask them questions. How you today? How is your husband? How is your wife? How is the children? And then you get to know if there are anything. Of course, they own up to you and they'll speak to you. And I need to say this because recently I found out, maybe because of the issue of parents being very busy and all that, parents get so busy that they don't even have time for their children anymore. So that their children even have opportunity to relate with them, to open up to them when things are happening. Is a major challenge we need to deal with in this generation. When parents become so preoccupied with what they are doing and they forget about that they have children, they should find out how they are faring. Because in the first place, it is those neglect.
Even when they are married.
Yes, even when they are married. Because if it is those neglect that the child can be going through and she will not have anybody to talk to, or he will not have anybody to talk to until that child maybe dies or something happened in marriage, and then you begin to say, Lord, you've been going through all this. But parents should be able to check on their children even when they are married. And when they find out, that something is wrong, okay, you should be able to call them. I was talking to you with a legal person and I was just asking.
Can we just hold that thought, story? I would like to hear after the break. So don't forget, you just made it together. Alright, we'll be right back. It's the decisions.
Alright.
Welcome back. It's Two Decisions, and just before the break we're talking about the role of parents in trying not to intrude and sometimes intruding also in marriages. You're about saying something,
I was trying to say that I was talking with a legal person, and the person was actually giving us like legal counsels and dealing with issues like this. That when you are married, in the first 1 year of your marriage, there's something you used to fight for. You can fight for after 3 years if you are experiencing this kind of stuff. You can't do that in the first 1 year. She was trying to say something about filing for exemption or separation. You can't do that until it's up to 3 years, because you cannot use 1 year to say in 1 year of your marriage. You can't say you cannot use 1 year to conclude that this is how this person is and this thing cannot change and all that. So it's in that light, as in you can imagine if a parent is not checking on their children. 6 months is even much more than enough for you to know what is happening in their life, and then get to ask them questions and get them to a place whereby you can help them with counsels.
Ma, do you have anything to say on parents?
Yeah. You see, the training we normally couples normally have is that, well, as you come into your marriage, avoid third party. That's what makes a lot of them keep quiet. They do not want to voice out. You see, most times when you ask them, oh, how's the marriage? Oh, fine. But when you see a child now coming to say, Mom, this is what is happening, I like to talk with you, I like to, we should give listening ears. It's very, very important. I heard of a case of a child who died. Why did the child die? In the middle of the night, she had problems. They were living in the same house.
And she was busy calling the mother. Mother, please, could you come? I have this. I'm feeling somehow in my body. And the mother said, okay, just sleep. Just lie down and sleep. You know, talk and talk. You know, the next morning, the child was gone. But here was a mother, you know, she was beckoning. You didn't know the problem, the child. So we should be able to give listening ears. If there's any alarm, there's anything happening, so that we rescue the situation. Because every child knows, every man child knows, I don't have to be telling my secret too. But if it goes beyond that, where is now that child is able to voice it out, and, look at what I'm doing. You know, there's a problem that needs to be taken care of. So as much as possible, parents will want to, you know, not to intrude. But if the need arises, my friend, you have to. You have to.
So there's no issue of divorce. There's no divorce is not an option kind of thing when it comes up.
No, divorce of course is at the end of the ladder, but then you have to come in to see how you can make an amends on both ways. If, for instance, the girl is complaining, of course you'll be able to call the man. Man, something is happening. You should be able to cry out aloud. If he's not hearing, get counselors, get pastors, you know, get people, let them be, you know, talk upon talks. He that has ears will definitely hear if he wants to save his marriage.
Okay, just go straight to helping the young lady at hand right now. What are the options available for a lady that's been abused in a marriage?
Alright, I think the first thing, once you, as a young lady, if you discover that your husband is abusive, I don't think you should keep quiet. The first thing to do is to speak out. Get someone to talk to, someone that is matured enough that you can confide in, you can speak to about the issue. You can speak to a pastor, you can speak to a social worker, you can speak to family member.
Do we have social workers in Nigeria?
Yeah, we do.
Do we have social workers in Delta State?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Let's find them out.
We do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We have a couple of them around on ground. You know, most of them even in the legal sector. Yeah, we do. So you talk to somebody, and then after talking to somebody, you ensure that you get response. If you don't get response, don't keep quiet. Talk to another person, because that's the challenge. You say, I've told somebody before. I told my mom didn't do anything about it. Just like this situation, mom is saying it's okay. Tell somebody else. Tell dad. Tell pastor.
Exactly.
You know, tell people that can call this young man and speak with him. Then it's very, very key. Those are probably ways that we can use to help ourselves. Anybody who is in going through any abusive situation, when you communicate with people, because normally anybody who is abusive, when it comes to know that somebody knows, he checks him or checks her. They just automatically adjust because somebody is aware of what is happening. Sometimes they don't want to go any further. If it is really a bad one and they want to go further, then another party comes in, and then sometimes separation is even required. Where you can, if the need be, separation is required. You can separate the person from that person. Sometimes somebody can be obsessed. You'll be thinking that he or she loves you, but they are just obsessed with you. And then what they do with you is just about the obsession, not anything else. And you get what I'm trying to say now? I've had a situation whereby you hear somebody trying to share with you as a pastor that all my husband doesn't want to do with me is sleep with me. You know, apart from that, he doesn't want to gist with me, doesn't want to go out with me and everything. That husband is obsessed with that woman with sex. You understand? But marriage is beyond sex. And you get what I'm saying? So you should be able to speak out and also get to have people talk to you so that you can enjoy your marriage in all entirety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear from the Kenneth now.
Okay. On the path of the man, like he rightly said, definitely she should cry out. Cry out in the sense that to as many as they can. There are some people, some people, they may not want to listen to their mother, their whatever, but if they have friends, get to know his or her friends, if it's his pastor that he fears, or his friends that he fears, you got to cry out to these people and let them know. Then, at the same time, as he's crying out, the man for himself, they should be able to tell him the resultant effect of what he's doing. You know, put the cards on the table. This thing you are doing, this is where it's going to lead you to. You know, and if it's that time that is not obliging, of course, like we rightly said, there's room for separation. We're not talking about divorce. You just stay on your own and stay. There's room for that, just to save life. And that, with time, will teach him a lesson. If for 1 year, for 2 years, you're separated, and before you know it, any normal human being will want to come to his senses and behave himself. You understand? People should be able, with time, people will be able to curb him and put him in the right perspective, the way he ought to behave. But if she does not cry out, she will die in silence. That's
So the major thing to do is actually to speak out.
Yeah.
Because every other thing comes from speaking.
Yeah.
So you speak to the first person, doesn't work, get someone
Get
else.
somebody else.
Keep talking until someone hears you
until
out.
somebody hears you out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, thank you very much. That's so good. Then for the man or for the person, for the abuser, what's available? For example, an abuser is watching right now and he's like, okay, this is how I am. I really want to stop. How do we help someone in that situation, Reverend Christian?
All right. For someone who found himself carrying out the actions that have to do with being abusive, the first thing you need to know about yourself is that you are actually not an abuser. You are a human being and you have the Spirit of God on your inside, and you are a person. You are a good person. You are lovable. Sometimes there are a lot of things that have been, that have been factors when people become abusive. For example, I've had someone actually confide in me and say, this is what I saw my parents do. And so I felt this is the right thing to do. I always saw my father beat my mother and all that, so I felt that is what life is all about. So I grew up also beating my sisters and now beating my wife. But that is not who you are. That's why nobody just wakes up and become an abuser. That's the truth. There are certain factors that leads to it. That's why we still have to again speak to parents, and we should be careful with the kind of examples we leave our children, what we do in their presence, because they will copy it and they will run with it. But for the abuser, you need to know that you are not an abuser, and you are a lovable, you are a nice person, you are a lovable person. You can be good, you can be loving, you can be caring. You need to be able to speak with someone and then let the person give you counsel and receive those counsel, and also resort to prayers. It's very key. Ask the Holy Spirit to help you. Ask God and God can help you. We have seen people who used to be abusive and they automatically stop. People who do a couple of other habits, that is damaging to their lives, and they stop. So resort to prayers, resort to counseling, and then go around people who are not doing that, who does well, who does opposite of what you do, and they will also rub off on you.
Look, I want to say, for the abuser, be open to counsel. If you're open to counsel, it will go a long way. Now have a listening ear. Your spouse is complaining, try and listen. Then listen to people, counselors, those who are telling you this thing you're doing is wrong, and follow the path of peace. It will help. It will go a long way. Then for you to, like Pastor has actually said, prayers. There's nothing prayers. When A is complaining, B is complaining, you've got to check yourself. Oh, what's happening? Why is my marriage like this? Oh, God help me in this aspect. It's like I'm failing. You open up to God and He will do that. The same thing applies for the woman too, who is being abused. There is nothing God cannot do. The God factor cannot be removed out of it. She has to go on her knees. She's already in it. Divorce is totally out of it. It's totally out of it. All you need to do is that my marriage must work. How is it going to work? Try by all means, go to God in prayers, go to men of God everywhere. Let prayers sustain this marriage.
Thank you very much for coming. It was nice having you around. Please, if you have more questions, you need to reach out to someone. Our social media platforms are on the screens right now. They are social media platforms also on the screen. You can reach them personally. Thank you for joining us on Decisions. Till we meet again, don't forget, it's your decision, your consequences, and your life. Have a nice week. Compliment of the season.